Hi everyone. I am trying something new tonight, which I'm just checking to see if it's on. And I don't see myself live yet. It says I'm live, but I don't see myself. So I'm going to check again. That was 2 days ago. Look at that, I'm live. Okay. So I am going to make sure this is muted. Okay. Now I see that I am getting some subtitles coming on here, and so I'm not sure if that is showing up for you guys too, but we are trying something new. I wasn't able to get my phone to kind of zoom into our projects here, so I have joined kind of a streaming server here, and we're going to try that tonight and see how it goes. So I'm just going to give you a couple minutes here to come online, and then maybe we'll get started with tonight. So tonight we are going to be looking at a shaker card. This is week 3 of our 12 weeks of Christmas, and we are going to make this shaker card here. So let me just show it up to you a little bit closer here. It's absolutely adorable, and it looks better up close because you can see the colors. So we've got some pool party snowflakes here and this cute little penguin. And then these little shaker bits at the back are these loose bits at the back are the shaker bits. So, I mean, you might think it's a little bit tricky to make, but it's really not. And I'm going to walk you through that tonight of how to make this, and you can use it in your crafting then going forward. So this is what we're going to focus on tonight. Before we get started, let me just mention again our Cards, Coffee, and Christmas Cheer event. So this is happening Friday, November the 1st, right here in Medicine Hat. It's an in-person event, and you can register at the link in the comments, as well as shop for any of the supplies that you see tonight. So make sure you check this out. All of my events are always at that link. So if you bookmark it on your Google or on your browser, if you bookmark it, you're always going to be able to find my links and all of the events that I'm currently hosting. So as well as on my Facebook page. But if you look there, I kind of highlight some of the links to where you can register as well. So you can go there and take a look at that. So as you come online, come and say hello. Let me know that you can hear me, that things are going well. Like I said, I'm trying kind of something new tonight. So I'm trying to see if everything is working as intended. But welcome, welcome. So let's just get started. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, I welcome you. And again, we're here on the 3rd week of the 12 weeks of Christmas. If you can believe that, we're already at week 3. And we are going to be looking at the Snowy Wonder Bundle today, including this stamp set here and coordinating dies. So let me just grab those here. So this is what the bundle looks like. You have these stamps, and then it comes with these coordinating dies. So really cute. These pieces here cut out kind of a snow globe shape, and they coordinate with the paper. So I'm just going to grab that here quick. It's this paper here. Mine's kind of a disaster because we're going to actually use some of this tonight. But this is the Snowy Scenes 12 by 12 designer series paper. And so as you can see, some of these snow globes here are going to cut out some of these different pieces like this. And then you can use some of these in your crafting as well. It cuts out some of the snowman, or sorry, some of the penguins, etc. And then there's some individual ones for the stamps like snowflakes, the mountains, the house, tree, etc. You can cut all of those out with the dies as well. So really fun, festive kind of Christmas set. And we're going to use that today to make our project today. Oh, look at that. I saw my first comment. Welcome, Pauline, who's also my mom. Thank you for doing that because I wanted to know how it was going to work on this new StreamYard system. And I can see your comments just great. You can hear me okay? If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up or say, yeah, I can hear you. Okay, let's get started. So this is actually a lot easier than you might think it is. It does involve a little bit of die cutting today, but we're going to actually get started first with some stamping. So let me set our card over there out of the way. I have got a piece of white cardstock, and this is just basic white cardstock, and it measures, let me remind myself, it measures 3 3/4 by 5. And this one I just made a little bit smaller, and that'll make sense in a little bit. And it measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. So it's about a 1/2 inch smaller than the other one. I'm going to pull out the larger snowflake as well as 2 little ones. And here's a tip for you too. If you want to make your stamping a little bit faster, I've actually put 2 of the smaller ones onto one block. And that way I only have to stamp once to get sort of the images that I want. It's still going to give me the variety. I've kind of offset them here. And so we're going to do that. I am going to stamp on both pieces of paper just randomly with snowflakes. And I'm using Pool Party ink. So I'm going to take my large one first, and then I'll go back and fill in a little bit with the smaller ones. So there's really no rhyme or reason here. We are going to cut out the center of this. So that's something just to think of as you're stamping. I like to kind of go off the edge a little bit so that it looks like they're sort of floating through rather than within kind of a frame. So we're going to just kind of stop at that, I think. And then I'm going to take my smaller one, and I'm going to just fill in some of these. So some, again, are going to be off the page, and then I might put a few that are together. And we want to make sure that we're kind of building, again, that off the page sort of randomness. And we're going to turn our page so that all of our snowflakes aren't the same. And I'll put one in here. Okay, so there we go. We've got this one. I might just put one more over here. I feel like we need another snowflake over there. Okay, you could kind of put some of them on top of each other, whatever that looks like. Now, I'm going to also do snowflakes on this piece here. This is going to go in the back of our shaker card, but there are some snowflakes in there just to give it a little bit of interest. So I'm going to just put a few in here. And again, this is Pool Party on Pool Party. So it's giving us kind of that, sorry, I'm like showing it to the light instead of the camera. It's showing us just sort of a real subtle kind of background rather than a real bold kind of thing in the background. We just want to sort of add some interest to our card, but we don't want this to be the focal point. We want our images that we put in the front to be the focal point and our little shaker bits. Okay, so we've got all of our snowflakes done. What we need to do now is a little bit more stamping. We are going to stamp 2 things here. One is a tree and one is a sentiment. And so let me just see. I think I have some scraps here somewhere. I do. Okay. So we've got a couple scraps of white. I'm going to just set these aside for a moment and we'll come back to those. And I am going to stamp in garden green a tree. Actually, I thought I might use a Christmas. We'll just do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to stamp a tree on here in garden green. And I am going to stamp, I could actually use the same piece of paper, I think. I don't think I need both. I'm going to stamp the sentiment as well. Okay, now our sentiment does not have a die that goes with it, but our tree does. So let's just run this through our die cutting machine quickly here and cut out our tree. While we're doing that, why don't we cut out some other pieces and just make it worth our time? All right. So the other thing we're going to cut out is I have taken this off of that designer series paper. I just cut this out, but I want to get this bottom piece here and I want to cut that out with my dies. So I'm going to use this base here and I'm going to cut this out. And you could just use a piece of plain petal pink paper, but this just has a nice little design on it. So we're just going to make use of it because we have it. And here's our tree die that we're going to use. And we need to cut out our snow glow piece, but we'll do that separately just to make sure that we don't mess that piece up. Okay, so let's set our card aside. Set these aside for just a second so I can bring in my machine. And it might be a little bit large for you guys to see, but we will make it work. So I'm going to put these on, and I know you can't see. I'll be back on in just a second. Getting my dies on this other side. Okay, so we've got that put on my sheet. And then I'm just going to run this through. Just like this. Sorry, we might jiggle a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we got our dies done here. take these so I don't lose them. And set my sentiment aside. We've got these two pieces here. And you can see I didn't do a perfect job at cutting out my tree, but that's okay. I can either use my paper stamps to kind of trim it up, or I could even leave it like this. I think the white almost looks like a little bit of a snow border on it, and I kind of think it's nice. So we might just leave it like that. The other thing we need to do for die cutting, like I said, is we need to cut the middle of our snow globe out. And I just dumped everything on the floor. Okay, we are making a smaller snow globe, and I am going to put this kind of in the middle. I got to remember that I have a base I'm going to put at the bottom here, so I got to leave a little bit of room for that at the bottom, and then we are ready to go through. All right. So you could use some tape to put this in place, but once you kind of do it a few times, you sort of figure it out. Okay, sorry for the jump there again. Okay, and we have all our die cutting done. That's it. All right. And again, you could use a punch for this. So if you don't have a die set, you could absolutely just use a punch to punch out a circle or any shape that you have to make a shaker card. It doesn't have to be a snow globe with dies. You could also just kind of cut out of your paper your tree, or cut your tree, that you stamped. You could just cut it out rather than using a die as well. So there are some options for you if you don't have all of the tools. Okay, let's set that aside then. Okay, so I'm going to actually, if I was thinking, I used this last time as my scrap to stamp my tree and stuff on, but I forgot this time. So the last thing we're going to do here to get ready to put our card together, yes, we're already at the stage of putting our card together, is I'm going to actually fussy cut this out. So I'm just using my scissors here, moving my paper more than my scissors. And you can see I'm kind of cutting at the back of my scissors and just kind of going slow around like this, leaving a little bit of a white border. So I'm just going to go around and not making it necessarily perfect, but there we go. And I'm going to just kind of make this edge round too, because the rest of my edges are a little bit round. There we go. We've got everything ready to go. All right. So the next thing we need to do is start putting this stuff together. So we're going to take our background piece now, which is this blue one. And we are going to add our tree. So you could put this on top and kind of, I made it a little bit smaller so that you can kind of move this around a little bit to where you want it. And I'm going to kind of put it like this maybe. And then I'm going to just kind of position where I want my stuff to go. So I'm going to put my tree on here. And again, we got to remember this is going underneath here. And then I forgot to cut out my penguin. We'll do that as well. I have a penguin off the paper that I'm going to cut out. And our penguin is going to go on top of our plastic piece. So we're going to add this after, but it's going to go kind of right in here. Okay, so let's cut that out again. But actually, before I move, I'm going to add my tree. So I'm going to just glue my tree down before I move my background piece. And note, this isn't glued down yet. I'm just holding it kind of as a placeholder so I can see what I want to do. All right. There we go. Now we're going to let that dry for a moment. I might as well go ahead and glue this on while we're at it. Put this on while we're at it. Okay. We've got that done and we've got that done. Okie dokie. Let's go back and cut out our penguin quickly here. And again, I did the exact same thing. I wasn't worried. You could cut it exactly to the edge of the penguin like I'm doing here, or you could leave a little bit of a border again. Because the background of this is blue, it's not going to show up really on your card anyways. So I'm not even going to worry about going between his toes. I'm just going to kind of cut through around like this. And again, you can see I'm mostly moving the paper, and then the back of my scissors just kind of very slowly working them around. So today I had to take a little bit of a road trip for work, so made it down to Milk River and back today already. But are people sure getting festive or what for Halloween? I couldn't believe driving around town how many, wrong holiday for what we're celebrating here, but how many people have decorated, and not just a little bit, gone full out decorating for Halloween this year. It's crazy what's going on out there. Okay. Now, the other thing that is very, very important for shaker cards is plastic. And we sell window sheets with Stampin' Up! And they're basically like a piece of like transparency or acetate that work really well for these. They're quite stiff and you can cut them down to whatever size you want. When I went to make my shaker card, found out I actually didn't have any window sheets, which was a shock to me because I always have them. So what I did is I actually took a piece off of, you could use a clear envelope and cut it, but I actually took the back off of, you know how stamps come, these photopolymer ones with a piece of plastic kind of on the back. I had some old stamp sets, and so I took a piece of that plastic and actually cut it. So you could really use anything. It needs to be a little bit strong, but it doesn't need to be heavy duty by any means. So we are going to attach this to the back, and this is going to be what holds in all of our little shaker bits. So I have to just grab my stuff that I knocked on the floor. I've got tear and tape. One of the things with shaker cards that you really want to make sure is that you stick everything down really well. We don't want any of our bits falling through, coming out of our shaker card. We want them to all stay where they're supposed to stay, or where we intend them to stay. So we are going to use some of our strongest adhesive, one of those being this tear and tape, and we're not going to try to leave any gaps between. We want it stuck down on all of the edges. Okay, so again, we've got that there. And then just kind of burnish your tear and tape a little bit. It makes it a lot easier to pull it up. And then we're going to just take off this backing. I think I kind of, right, oh, we got it. Just like that. Move that garbage out of the way. And then we're just going to take this piece of plastic and stick it down. Now, another tip for you is that sometime when you're, depending on what shaker pieces you're using, they kind of get that static electricity and they will stick to your window sheet or your piece of plastic. So a good way to get rid of that is to actually wash your piece of plastic with just some water and hand soap. So I've already done that here. This isn't such an issue today because we are using these loose snowflakes. They're a little bit heavier. But there's often little kind of sequin pieces that we have available as well. And they tend to stick a little bit more. So these ones are a little heavier. It's not such a big deal. Okay, so now we need to add this to our card. And we also need to make sure we put our shaker pieces in there first. So we know our card's going to kind of go like this. We are going to first thing add our adhesive on here. And what I'm using for that are foam adhesive strips. So they are like dimensionals that a lot of you are familiar with, but they come in long strips. And we want to make sure that we put this all around the window without any gaps, like where we want our shaker bits to be. Okay. And this stuff will kind of bend. So you kind of want to leave it in one piece as much as possible. All right. So we've got one. We're going to take our second piece here and we're going to line it right up. We don't want any gaps between our foam adhesive strips. So this is going to create kind of a little bit of a pocket for our little bits that are going to be in our shaker card. It's also going to lift up the top of our card so that our bits have room to shake, so that they're not kind of stuck in between the different layers. Okay, so I'm going to, before I cut this, I'm just going to make sure that we get this all the way to the edge. We don't want any gaps, places where our shakers can escape. So we have got this all lined up just like that. Okay. Easy, right? So whatever shape you have, you're going to just use your foam adhesive sheets. You could put dimensionals all around the edge if that's what you had. It'll just take up a little bit more supplies than maybe is necessary. Okay, so now we need to get our little bits in here. So some of the other items you could use is you could actually just die cut out like, you know, little pieces of confetti, or if you have something left over from, say, your hole punch, etc., you could use that. You could like stamp different images and put them in there. Whatever you have on hand, little sequins, just anything that's not kind of sticky and that's going to be loose and shake. So I've just kind of made a little pile here. One thing I learned from when I made my first card is that these things are actually quite thick. There's a bunch of different sizes of snowflakes, but if I don't lay them flat on here, they get stuck in piles and then they don't really shake too well because they're so they're thicker than some things are. So now we have already taken off the back. This is sticky, and we are going to just line this up where we want it and stick it down just like that. And now we've got the shaker portion of our card made. Wasn't that easy? Super easy. And that's really what you can do. It doesn't matter what your cutout is. You can make shaker seasons for all sorts of holidays and festivities, but I especially love it at Christmas because I just think that snow falling is just something special. Okay, so we have our card base here. I'm going to go ahead and fold that. This is garden green. It measured 5.5 by 8. 5.5 by 8. Nope. Yep, it did 8.5. 5.5 by 8.5. And we are going to stick this to the top. So my last card that I made, actually, it opened this way. So your card base can open anyway. This one measured 11 by 4.25, and then it's just top folding. And this one is side folding. So because we have adhesive foam strips in here, we've got kind of that layer. We have to add dimensionals to the back of this around the corners so that everything lays flat. Otherwise, our corners are kind of raised up and our middle is sort of bubbled like this and the sides don't stick, if that makes any sense. So we're going to add some dimensionals to the corners, and I'm going to add some glue to this part where we have our foam on the other side. Okay, so we're going to go like that. Take off the backings here. And then just put that on the front of our card. There we go. So this card here is one that I saw in the Stampin' Up! Actually online catalog, and I just thought it was so cute. So I actually just cased it just the way that it was. It's kind of a unique color combo for me, not something that I usually make. So this you could just stick down flat. You could also use a dimensional. I think I'm just going to stick it down flat because the rest of this is lifted. It's going to create quite some height on our card. I am going to use tear and tape for this just because it's going to be sticking partly to this plastic, and liquid glue just doesn't dry that well to that. So this is just going to make sure that it sticks and it doesn't go anywhere. Okay. It's a great kind of all-purpose strong adhesive when you're looking for something. I just think this penguin is adorable because he's got this little present in his hand and these cute little red earmuffs on, and so it just coordinates really nice with the sentiment that we're going to add on there. Okay, so a couple things that we're also going to do. I forgot to stamp one thing, and that's the inside of our card. Because we have a dark base, we want to make sure we put some white on the inside, and it's just kind of cute to dress it up on the inside as well. So I'm going to just take a couple snowflakes and just kind of randomly stamp them around like that. You could put a sentiment on the inside if you wanted. Maybe I'll just add a couple smaller ones or something. Where do we want this? There we go. Okay. Let's do a couple up there. There we go. Now it's kind of lopsided, isn't it? Yes, it is. I think we need to add this up here. Okay, we're just going to stop there and try to close my ink pad. Okay, my ink pad is stuck. All right, we'll worry about that later. Okay, so we've got the inside of our card. Let's go ahead and put that inside. It's always nice to kind of finish your cards when you're making them, as far as get the insides in. If you want to stamp a coordinating envelope, etc., so that when you're ready to give it, your card is ready to go. If you have to kind of go back and finish it up, you're less likely to send it when you need to. Okay, so we've got that there. Uh-oh. Make sure that's straight. There we go. We've got the inside all done. On the outside, there's one more thing that we're going to do. And I want to add some snowflakes with my sentiment, but I don't want any of the colors that I have because the white is too white. I don't think it shows up, and we've got all these other little bits in here. And gold and copper is just not what we're doing today. So one thing that you can do if you don't have the color you want, I wanted to kind of bring in a little bit more of this petal pink color. So I'm going to just color some of my embellishments with my Stampin' Blend. So I'm going to color some of these white ones with this pink. And you can see it's just really subtle. Like there's not a lot of difference. But against the white, you're going to really notice. You can't even really see it in the camera. But there is a difference, I promise you. So we're going to just give this a little bit of a color here. The petal pink is kind of a soft pink, so it really is, needs a couple layers on here. But, okay, so we've got that. I'm going to use my Take a Pick tool. Actually, I'm going to put this on first. So I'm going to go put my sentiment on. I'm going to actually use some dimensionals for this. Put one right here in the middle. And that's going to go up here. Just kind of like, I think like that, we're going to do it. And now we are going to, cat hair everywhere, just tuck in some of these snowflakes behind. So I'm going to just use my Take a Pick tool to pick this up. And I need a little bit more putty on there. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a turn. And I'm going to get this. This doesn't look like it's quite dry yet, but that's okay. Takes a little bit because these embellishments are plastic. So it's just not, it doesn't dry immediately when you color them. Okay, we've got, you know what? You got to put adhesive on if you want your embellishments. Actually, these should be sticky already. I was trying to stick it the wrong way. That's why. There we go. Okay, we got that one on. Let's take our little one here and add that down there. And you can see I'm just kind of tucking it a little bit underneath of our sentiment so that it looks like it's kind of attached there. And then you've got these shaker bits in the background, just like that. And that, my people, is how you make a shaker card. So isn't that adorable? I think that this stamp set is absolutely perfect for this type of card, obviously, because it has already the domes that you can use to cut out your snow globes and the little pieces, and snow globes are just obviously shaker bits meant for shaking. So we have two cards here, very similar, different penguins, but other than that, they're kind of the same thing. But I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that you'll make your own shaker card and that you'll share that with us here on my Sarah Lynn Stamps page. Just stick it in the comment of this post and share it with everyone here on the page. We'd all love to see that. So again, thank you for joining me here on the third week of the 12 weeks of Christmas. I do have all of sort of the supplies listed in the description, as well as a link to shop for any of the supplies that you've seen tonight, as well as to register for my Christmas class that's coming up on November 1st. So thank you very much. I've enjoyed stamping with you, and we will see you next week for week 4. And tomorrow we also have mystery stamping right here at 7 o'clock again. So we will see you then. Okay, bye.